program for the 24-25 school year. This resolution fulfills all legal requirements that are set forth in the law, and although funds will not be generated until FY '26 after July 1, it will be based on 24-25 staffing. The way this is written, the district will act as a pass-through entity for state appropriated funds, allocating bonus payments directly to the eligible educators in accordance with the State Department guidelines. It will result in no additional local fiscal impact. For each bonus, the district will receive a total payment of $2,306.60. That's to cover the employer's share of benefits, including Social Security, Medicare, and TCRS. These funds above the bonus amount ensure the district is not responsible for the employer rate of benefits for the state-supported bonus payment. As we know, this is part of the special session with the Education Freedom Account, and the resolution is required. The resolution has been written by Ms. Bush, and she's happy to answer any questions on that, and we're happy to answer any questions you guys might have.
I have a motion to approve the resolution.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Dodd. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Price. Any questions or comments?
Yes, Madam Vice Chair.
Okay.
Please go ahead, ladies first.
I just wanted to ask, is this just for, certified?
So,
Right, just clarify
Yeah.
who it's for.
So the way it's written, it's for full-time employees who have served more than 120 days this year. They have to spend the majority of their day in direct services to students and staffed at a school location. So that's gonna be classroom teachers, librarians, music teachers, art teachers, school counselors, anyone that's staffed to a school and spends the majority of their day in direct instruction with students. Who it would not include would be principals, assistant principals, instructional staff, classified staff is not included at all either. So the state set forth the guidelines of who it covers. We will actually, beginning in April, the state will send us a report of who they say meets the criteria. We'll have an opportunity to go in and actually clean that up, verify it, make sure it's correct, send it back. It will come back to us again, I think in May, and then finally it'll be based on the June pool. So there'll be some back and forth between us and the state to make sure the appropriate people are identified. It's really based on Tenn Compass, which is our evaluation program, and part of this is how are they evaluated, and that evaluation will help drive who is classified as a teacher under state law.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Richardson.
Yes, Madam Vice Chair. It would be my recommendation to amend the resolution such that everything preceding the words "be it resolved," so now therefore, and everything preceding be struck, and that it read only "be it resolved" to finish. I believe that comports with the statutory requirements. It says nothing more, and in no way, I believe, affirms the allegations of corruption at the State House, the allegations of quid pro quo to get this bill passed. It allows us to take a step back from the nastiness that is happening nationally. Allows us to make sure the teachers are paid, and they ought to be paid, but by no means are we made to supplicate before Governor Lee and make it appear as such that we agree with the voucher bill that the funds that we're trying to resolve to release is tied to. And I don't want to be tied to that. I don't believe Murfreesboro City Schools wants to be tied to that. It's an inappropriate bill. It remains inappropriate and immoral. However, the teachers deserve to be paid. And I by no means, again, want to suggest that I don't think any teacher should get exactly what it is they deserve. But I will not affix my name to anything that is going to condone, affirm, or continue the acts of the legislature and this governor.
Is that a motion?
It is a motion.
So where,
Let's see if we have a second on the motion, then we'll discuss the motion. I think that's proper procedure. Okay, is there a second for Mr. Richardson's motion? I think that motion may die for lack of a second.
Well, I want to get that resolution back.
You can, well, Well, can we discuss it? I'd like to continue the discussion.
By all
Because I'd
means.
like to respond, I think Karen would.
I was just confused. So you're just wanting to take out everything except, it does say here, acknowledges that that we don't endorse that. So you wanted everything taken out except for that.
Absolutely.
So everything above this line.
Everything above that line.
But the now therefore would stay.
That's exactly correct.
Okay, so you're saying like all four of those would be gone.
It's not that I disagree with any of those statements or, any portions of the statement. However, it's easy to infer from the superfluous language that there's a modicum of approval, whereas the language that I believe is cited at the bottom is sufficient and does not give any indicia of approving or affirming or otherwise agreeing with the things that have happened to get this god-awful bill passed.
So I'd like to respond to you. I actually loved the language above because I thought it did exactly what you're saying, because I share your sentiment. And so I really liked the language because I thought it did the work of saying, we're gonna take this money, but let me explain. We in no way support this. Like, I thought it actually went kind of beyond what we had to, and in a way that I liked, to say we in no way support the vouchers. Making clear that we are just a pass-through. So when you assistant principal don't get this money, it is in no way us. We are just a pass-through. And I like that being included in the resolution to be clear that we have thought about it and are recognizing that we want no official part of this. And so I actually like that there's language that says that. So I understand, I think we're at the same place, but just getting there a different way.
I understand. I see. I will not be able to put my name on that.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah. So that fourth segment down, says, we should not be considered, should not be considered as an endorsement for Educational Freedom Act, which is what you're saying. Which I am in agreement with that as well. I don't know that I see the need to extract all the other, but I see what you're saying. What Jimmy's saying, yeah.
No one ever takes anything out of context or partially quotes anything. So despite having that caveat that I believe indicates our intent, I would rather it all be gone and satisfy merely the statutory requirements and nothing more. But I can see that Madam Vice Chair is correct that it does lay out a narrative such that it reflects Murfreesboro City Schools, but it's just not a resolution that I can support.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Do we all have to sign this? Or, I mean, does every single person have to sign this to get this to go?
No, it's just like anything else that's brought before a motion for the board, so it's subject to, as long as it's voted on. If someone, if we had a board member who chose to say nay, we'd have to do the roll call vote, and we'd go through the roll call vote, and as long as it passed, we would sign and then send, but there's no requirement in the law that the majority or even a quorum pass the resolution for the state to accept it pursuant to the legislation.
And if the board as a whole, so if the majority of the board passes it, there's no requirement that every board member put their name on it.
That's correct, yes, it just has to be approved and passed by the board, is what it says in the legislation.
The majority.
Oh, yeah, I totally agree. We all have your sentiment, we do. But I personally, maybe it's because I'm not a lawyer, but I don't see the point in taking those out, honestly. But I do have your sentiment. I agree with you, yes.
I wanna say I agree as well. I just thought that you would have to put all this for somebody that was like me to read it and understand, for like the educators that would not, the people that participate in education that will not be getting the, bonus.
Oh, yeah, because it does outline,
Yes.
yeah, who would be getting it.
And I will say, because it's outlined, it looks like an endorsement that we're electing, we are resolving.
Do you really think so? Because when I read it, I kind of like cheered to myself because I thought this is great. This puts distance between us and this wretched law and makes very clear that we are hands off and just required to do this and in no way support this ordinance. So I I read it with a completely different take after I read it, coming from the same place.
What if we change the order of it? Like started it off saying that? I'm just wondering.
I mean, I feel like it's really clear, although the board continues to advocate for sustainable recurring salary increases to properly recognize and compensate the educators, the General Assembly has chosen through one-time appropriations to acknowledge the invaluable contributions of our educators. So, I felt
So
okay.
you're still transferring it to them.
Yeah.
And that it's
Yeah.
their decision, that's the
Yeah.
part that I like, put this on the General Assembly, but, I mean, we'll take a vote, and I'm clear on how you're gonna vote, and I appreciate that. Any other questions or comments on the resolution? Okay, I see none, so let's vote, and I think Ms. Van Cleve will do a roll call vote.
Karen Dodd,
We are,
Yeah,
Barbara Long,
Yes.
Amanda Moore,
yes,
Jeanette Price,
Yes.
Jimmy Richardson.
No.
So that is 4 yeses and 1 no.
all right, reports and information, first up is the personnel report, Dr. Bucher.
Yes, you have your personnel report in front of you, and we're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions, comments? Okay, next report, enrollment report.
Yes, and Mr. Rocha is actually out today, for a family, situation, and so I get the privilege of going over the enrollment report. Even though he does it with a lot more panache, I will try my best to, show you. I will just kind of really would like to point into the enrollment, if you look at the PowerPoint and the packet that he does, really that first page, which is the enrollment for pre-kindergarten through 6th grade, we're sitting at 9,321 students. Is where we are right now. So we have again kind of remained pretty neutral all year long with our enrollment. Now, we did get some news yesterday that was encouraging for us, which is every year at this time of the year, as we approve budget, we get what's called the weighted full-time equivalency ADA. And what that is a state-generated number that says they take all the K-12 students in Rutherford County from both districts, and they decide, they look at the enrollment and they say, what percentage are you serving in your district? So this year, we did go up in that service of who we're serving. So last year, we were sitting at 14.5% of the students in Rutherford County. We're up to 14.94% going this year. So that will obviously have a small, it's a very small increase, but it is definitely an increase. And considering that our enrollment has kind of stayed stagnant, kind of shows what we're all kind of dealing with in Rutherford County, looking at that. So that will impact on the percentage of property tax and sales tax that we receive moving forward. So just wanted to update the board on that. Obviously, our board budget meetings start in April, and we will go very in-depth on that and talk more about it, but I want to give you that little bit of information. We weren't real sure how the numbers would flesh out because of the, obviously the opening of 3 new charter schools and things like that, but our overall percentage of students served, we are serving a higher percentage this year than we did last year. I'm happy to answer any questions on that. The last thing I will say with our enrollment report is looking at our PTR. We are still sitting at a relatively low PTR, about 18.73. That includes kindergarten through 6th grade. So our PTR remains pretty much unchanged. Again, a pretty low PTR compared to the requirement.
Any questions, comments? All right, next up is summer school update.
Good evening, board.
Good
I just
evening.
wanted to spend a few minutes just updating you where we are with summer school, registration. So this is our theme this year, kind of a little gaming theme. Summer school will be held June 2nd through the 27th, Monday through Thursday, 7:30 to 1:30, very similar to last year. The only difference is we are taking Juneteenth off, so that Thursday, June 19th will be a day out for everyone. So that means on that Friday, June 20th, will be a day in for everyone so that we can meet that 16-day state requirement. So that's just kind of that little information. These are the 6 sites where we will be having summer school this year. This is how they're paired. If you'll notice, Black Fox will be, housing our pre-K classroom. Right now, it looks like we'll have 2 classrooms, based on enrollment. And John Pittard will be housing the 6th grade classroom as they have for, years past. I will say that registration was set to close yesterday. Numbers are off a little bit. I'm gonna show those to you now. So we extended the summer school registration until April 14th. We feel like with parent conferences being last Monday, probably didn't give parents enough time. It has been open, for around a month for 3rd grade. You can kind of tell there with the numbers, we already have 283 3rd graders registered for summer school. We also send this to principals, the students we have from their school each Monday, so that they can take a look at the list and then go back to teachers, and just so that everybody can confirm to make sure we have, who we need. But you can see right now, we're sitting at 672 as of yesterday. Around this time last year, we had about 800, so we're not off too much, but just wanna make sure families have enough time to register. So again, that's why we have lengthened that. We'll go ahead and send information to Mr. Rome in transportation, so that he can go ahead and start pinpointing a little bit around, what the routes are gonna look like for transportation. And then as far as teachers, and I think this is why you'll see too, why we wanted to do one more push, because if everything in the perfect world fell as it should, right now, we would only need around 60 teachers. But we have 156 who are committed to the 4 weeks. We do have 10 summer school administrators. As of right now, we have 2 administrators at Black Fox, John Pittard, and Scales, because those tend to be our largest schools for summer school, so we went ahead and put 2 there. I feel like the numbers will go up as they always do, but just kind of being prepared, we wanted to.
Terry, do you think the numbers will go back to PCAP?
They do, especially for 3rd grade.
That's what I was thinking, the 3rd graders,
They fluctuate,
yeah,
you know, up and
after
down.
they take their TCAP.
And then they'll fluctuate again after they take the assessment, the one with the retest for 3rd grade. So, that's just kind of where we are. Just wanted to share that with you. Everything is just rolling along as it has. This is our 4th year, I think, for summer school, so we've kind of become pros at it. Dr. Bullard's helping out. She'll help out again with administrators, so that's always a good help. I do have a webinar Thursday about the summer school application, but we did get word that we probably would not receive that application until later in April, which means it's gonna, you know, be a quick turnaround
What is that?
to get.
What's the application?
The application is what we fill out for funding.
And the state funds this?
Cindy explained this, ma'am.
They just have to know how many.
It's kind of based on last year's amounts a little bit, but yes, they have to know how many, principals, how many teachers, and all those things, so.
I told you, I'm not, the numbers are a little lower. First, I'm thrilled that we have 156 teachers that want to do it. I think it really goes to the fact that Sherry listens to them about their feedback on how to make that program doable for them, and we've taken a lot of that feedback. But I'll be honest, I don't think our families are thinking. I mean, we haven't hit spring break
We
yet.
haven't hit
And so,
spring break yet.
and we haven't hit spring break. The third grade retention law is not new, like people are kind of used to it. And so some of that urgency that we've felt the last couple of years, we haven't seen as much of. But I do expect those numbers to go up. It's a little trickier when it goes up later, because our transportation department needs to start planning routes quickly, because we do provide transportation, but, we'll be prepared.
Are you ready? Yeah.
The state pays for the entire program.
Yes, ma'am. So far.
So
Do
far.
4th graders feel any pressure? I know 3rd graders do. Do 4th graders also need to come to summer school based on scores now, or?
They
is that just
can,
tutoring?
that's an option. If they go in 3rd, or if they pass in tutoring and don't show adequate growth, they keep expanding the pathways, and there's about 10 different pathways now to get there. So they can do summer school, I think, as one of those pathways. If they went on a 4th and didn't show adequate growth, then there's that option as well for summer school too.
what our foundation board wanted to do was to, first of all, it's 20 years old, so our foundation is going to be celebrating 20 years, which is really, really nice. And the bylaws had been tweaked, but really never adjusted, so they really wanted to take the opportunity to really look into the bylaws. Even with a hard look at them, there wasn't that many changes, but I wanted to review those with you. Ms. Long, if you wanna add anything, you let me know. The original foundation was created by the school board. So in the statements of the bylaws, it stated that the foundation board of trustees shall be selected by Murfreesboro City School Board. That was the initial. It has never been changed. So we're really, again, trying to put the bylaws to meet the practice of what we do daily. So that was changed. It really talked about the staggered terms and how the original board would come on. We took that language out. Right now, our board, works on a 3-year term. They can up for a 6-year term if they choose to. We've had several of our board members roll off for a year and then come back, and then they're eligible for another 6 years. So surprisingly, we've had lots of board members stay on for 12 years, which is it says a whole lot for our board. And their commitment to the schools. So it really talked about that. There was a couple of places where it talked about the director of schools. We added that board designee to that place because I actually serve in the role that the director of schools was in the original bylaws. If you would like to take it.
No, you're welcome. You do a fantastic job, Ms. Trail. I do like coming for the free lunch with them.
Also, we struck a little bit about, it was talking about mailing the packets 2 weeks in advance. We don't mail any packets, everything is done by email. Again, this is 20-year-old bylaws that we kind of just updated. But again, because this was created by the school board, we wanted to make sure that you understood that the City Schools Foundation had changed their bylaws. So, that was it. Do you have any questions there? I can give you the originals and what was struck out, but it pretty much was just cleaning up things. The only other big one that we'd actually already struck before was calling for an audit every year. It's just not feasible for us to pay for an audit every year. It's very expensive, so we do a review. We have a treasurer, we have a bookkeeper, so it's very clean.
You do an audit though
We do an audit every 3 years or as needed. So that's up to the board to decide. Sometimes grants that we're applying for requires us to do an audit, and then the changing of a treasurer might require an audit, but it's, the last audit was 3 years ago. So. Any questions?
Alright, directors update.
Just a few updates. First of all, thank you, Ms. Long, for serving on the City Schools Foundation as the board designee and being the voice of the board. It's probably the most fun committee that anyone gets to serve on, but it is a go. And you get to play pickleball too. So, lots going on right now. Just wanted to update the board on a few things. First of all, just so it was clear, spring break is next week, so just being aware of that. We're very excited about that. One of the questions that I'm getting a lot out in the community is, so what is the executive order about the dismantling of the Department of Ed actually mean? And my short answer is, I'm not really sure. And I think that's what we're all kind of looking at. Obviously, you know, we're gonna have to kind of work through this and figure out, like, as things come out, what the actual impact of that is. I think what Daniel kind of alluded to earlier, what we're most concerned about, obviously, is funding. At the board's request, if you remember, after the workshop, we did the one-pager, and I can send it back out if you need it, kind of outlining the federal funds we would get. And as a reminder, we get this year about $11.7 million in federal funds. I will say that doesn't include the money we're getting for E-rate, because that actually doesn't come out of the Department of Education and so on. But we do get quite a bit in federal funding. What we are being told is that our Title I allocation and our IDEA allocations will continue to be funded at their current levels. One of the things I'm gonna be really watching that I'm concerned about is whether or not that ever increases. I think one of my concerns is if we stay funded at the same level in perpetuity, why that money doesn't go as far, because substantially that money is used to pay for staff. So we know people get more expensive with raises and cost of living and things like that. So that's something that we're really watching. But of all the programs that right now I have my eye on that I'm probably most concerned about is our Title II program. I've gotten some conflicting information about, is that kind of gonna be on the chopping block? Again, I think there's just a lot of messages going out and we're not sure what actually is gonna happen. But that's almost $400,000 that pays for some of our instructional staff here at the central office that work directly with teachers. So all that to say, there's not a whole lot of information I have. So if you stop me at the grocery market and say how it's gonna impact you, I'll tell you what I tell most people, which is not really sure yet. We're kind of watching and learning and waiting. We are trying to be intentional, especially around Title II. We have a little bit of carryover that along this time of the year, we may look at it and say, hey, do we want to spend some of this for at the end of the year? And we're actually going to just kind of carry that over, just kind of like a little safety net in case it does get cut. We have some of that money there. So that's kind of our strategy right now. I'm happy to answer any questions you have, but you probably know as much as I do about it as well. The last thing I'll say is, as a reminder, next week is spring break. We come back. The week after that will be our first of 2 budget workshops we have here. So we have that on the 8th and the 15th. Thank you. It's gonna be so much fun. We're in a new place this year, right? 0 ESSER dollars. 0 of that, what I call we've kind of used as a cushion and a safety net the last few years. That is not there. So we've been working really hard as a department, and just props to the district team who's been working really hard to make sure that we're really looking at what our expenses are as we look at no ESSER dollars to help balance that, the continued impact from the last 4 years of property tax decreases we are really gonna see an impact from that this year. So just know that we will go through that in detail at the 5th, and I'll share with you feedback, kind of some drafts, and what we're looking at, what we think we're able to do, what we think we may not be able to do, so the board can approve that. But a lot of fun month ahead of us in April. And those are all my updates.
Any questions? Okay, any other business? Go before this board.
It looks like the pre-K bill it's continuing to advance, so we may get that funding.
Yes, and what we continue to be told is if it's gonna get held up, it will be in finance, because of the price tag that's associated with it. But I will say, we would very much benefit from that bill. As a reminder for the almost 300 pre-K students 100 IPK students, about 100. About 130 students that we get 0 funding for. And so, that's a huge chunk of change. Again, really appreciative of Senator White for carrying that at our request. And so we really appreciate that. And so we're very hopeful that it makes finance. I think that's the place that maybe may trick us up a little bit.
When would we see that money if it does pass?
I think the law would have it go into effect next year if it were to pass.
Okay. So I'm just thinking budget time, will we know ahead of time whether we're gonna get that money or not?
Yeah. It will not be in our revenue projections.
Okay.
Any other business? Right, I have an item of business I want to present to the board, just to get your thoughts on this. I know that, I think most of us have seen that, kind of a new focus on education right now at the General Assembly is trying to pass these bills that would give districts the option to refuse to educate undocumented children. I know one thing this board has been very clear, we try not to let the politics dictate what we do. We've tried to keep our united focus on doing what's best for kids. Personally, I don't know how you look at this policy and think that this is what's best for kids. It's a way to use children as leverage to try to change things on a national immigration scale. One school board in Tennessee, Franklin County, has passed a resolution encouraging the General Assembly not to pass these bills. And I wanted to float this idea to our board to see if we would like to pass a similar resolution, to ask Lauren if she could draft something for us to express our discomfort,
Ooh.
unpleasant feelings about it, that we could send to the General Assembly, just so we're on record as saying this is not something we feel is good policy for the state of Tennessee.
Oh. Thank
Well,
you.
obviously David's in.
I was first. I was last, but I was first. Way ahead of you. I already reached out to Lauren like the day this started happening. Lauren, you remember? Lauren was sick, but I didn't know she was sick, and I sent her a text.
That's okay. Okay.
Yeah. And she-
Everybody else did too.
Okay.
I bet you didn't get a text her because I did that.
I was like, oh, well, but anyway, yeah.
So I have a copy, I brought copies to the Franklin County resolution, I mean, you can obviously look it up if you want to, but I have them here, just if you want to see what it is.
Those Franklin counties are good people, that's where I'm from. Grew up there, but anyway, I would, yes, I would like, I wish that, I just hope that we don't have to vote on this. I don't want to do that,
Vote on what?
so.
On doing a resolution?
Yes, I don't want this to pass, no.
Vote to say
I am in
Oh,
favor
oh.
of what Amanda is saying, because I don't want this to pass and all of us have to. Right.
What can I say, that
It's a
we
touch-
know that, well, it's really not about the bill. Can we be honest?
Right.
It is not about this bill. The hope is that a bill passes in Tennessee, a bill passes in Oklahoma, a bill passes here and a bill passes there, and the courts strike it down. Once the courts strike it down, there's an appeal. The real aim is to get it to the Supreme Court so that they overturn the law. Tell me the law again.
Plyler is the name of it.
Plyler, I should
This is
remember
very
that,
clearly
yeah.
unconstitutional.
Yeah, they know it's unconstitutional, they know it's gonna be challenged, but they came away from that conference and everybody had the same playbook. So the whole point is to get it to the Supreme Court. My feeling, honestly, is that it is going to pass. It's going to pass. If it doesn't pass this session, it's gonna pass the next. And the only reason I feel that way is because after sitting in that hearing room, listening to the testimony of people that it would affect, and hearing the lawmakers pretty much say, oh yeah, we know, but it's okay, we're still gonna do it. I was disheartened. I could not believe it. The callousness with which they said, okay, let's do this, knowing, but I know what the larger agenda is. I know what the larger agenda, and yeah, using children as pawns, and in my personal opinion, fix the immigration system, period, just fix it. Don't use little tactics like this to villainize kids. Kids need an education, because what's the alternative? You know, they sit at home and do nothing?
Get in trouble.
And get in trouble, yeah, but, and the question was posed to them. But it was so much of, yeah, well, we're gonna do it anyway, and you get that distinct sense that it's gonna go, that it's really gonna go. So I'm in favor of doing a resolution, because I think as many voices as they hear that are in opposition to it, the better. So,
Are other districts doing this as well?
There is a push to see if other districts would like to do it. To my knowledge, Franklin County is the only one so far that's actually done it, but I
I think we
think
all
there's-
need to do this, because if this does pass, we got a whole lot to think about. I mean, not just the way we feel in our heart, but there are we got 2 districts in this county. And I mean, we could see some major financial strains on us if one votes one way and one votes the other. I mean, you gotta think about this deep, not just how you feel in your heart. We all love children, and that's what we wanna do, we wanna do what's right. But you gotta think about all these other things too, there's so many things that we have to think about, so I just had rather not even have to vote on it, so let's do that.
Madam Chair.
And hopefully that this will work.
Respectfully, the only thing that matters are these children. I have a little mug, Murfreesboro City Schools, it says, every day matters. Every child matters. Every child that's in this city is deserving of dignity and respect and access to an education, access to food. We have children that are going hungry tonight, that will go to bed hungry tonight in this city. Our neighbors, floating from mortgage to mortgage, payment to payment. You're telling me the child, the 6-year-old, should be punished, shouldn't be able to be taught, by someone that cares about them, can show them their work. Oh, yes, there is a financial impact, but there is a moral one. And yes, this is a board that is not supposed to be focused on politics, but politics is being injected into this board and to every other board. It is repugnant to the sensibilities of my person, I believe, of this board, and I absolutely support that in the strongest possible means.
Thank you. So I think I heard from everyone